Welcome to the Money Savvy Parents Podcast, the podcast for parents to gain financial education to then pass on through the generations. I am your host, Laura, mother to 3 beautiful children and founder of a financial coaching business, Savvy Peacocks. Let's remove the taboo from money together. Welcome to my podcast. Thank you very much for coming back to listen. This is the 9th episode, and today we're going to talk about the taboo subject of money within another taboo subject. So let's delve straight in and hear that question from the audience.
Hi Laura, we're thinking of starting a family, but I don't know where to start when I think about preparing financially for this. Is this something you could help us with?
Thank you so much for bringing this question to my podcast, and it's a really important one that's often not talked about, which is why I said at the beginning there it's a little bit of a taboo subject. And the reason for that is quite often when we're thinking about building a family or having babies, we get caught up in the dream of having a family, the dream of that little bundle of joy when it comes along. And of course, there is quite a lot of pressure when you're thinking about having a family, and finances don't really need to be another one of those pressures, but often gets forgotten about. So what the financials probably do is they probably remove the romance from the whole experience, but I cannot tell you how important it is to financially prepare for having children. Because if you don't prepare, then you could end up being anxious about money. You could potentially end up getting into debt. You could possibly end up resenting your partner for still earning money, but also you could make your future working pattern a difficult decision because let's face it, I think I've mentioned before that children cost a lot of money. It's been estimated that it costs around £100,000 to bring up a child over the first 18 years of your life. And those first few years can be really difficult when you throw in things like maternity leave, childcare, things like that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So having that first year off work when your little bundle of joy comes along can be really exciting and can feel a bit idealistic because it's like, hey, I'm going to have a whole year off work and it's a lovely time for you to spend with your baby. But it can be quite stressful if you don't prepare for that in the future. And practicing everything I've shared you in episode 4 around talking to your partner about money is going to really help you with these next few tips that I talked to you about. So there's 4 areas that I want to talk to you about. The first one is planning for the baby expenses. So in that first stage of having a baby, you can get very caught up in getting excited, wanting to buy new things for that little baby, and you could be tempted by some of the high-end pushchairs that you're seeing or high-end cots that you might be seeing in the shops as you're going around, but they can be really expensive. So if you want to push yourself to get a brand new travel system, for example, then you're looking at £800 to £1,000. So perhaps the first thing to think about is, do I want that? If I want that, then fine, let's save up for it. Is it worth it? You know, really is up to your own personal preference about where you want to fund those baby expenses from and how you want to save up for them and maybe what other options are available to you. I'm a big believer in secondhand things, and certainly you're going to get loads of gifts as you get a new baby. People can't wait to buy a gift for babies. So clothes and things like that are great to get secondhand. And certainly in those first few months, they're either going to end up in poo or, you don't need a huge amount for a baby. So before you know it, you've got 12 vests and they only ever wear 3 because you're constantly washing. So just being conscious of that. And of course, there are some things that are advised not to buy secondhand, like car seats, for example. So having a think about what those first few months worth of baby expenses look like and how much you're prepared to tuck away out of your savings to contribute towards those. The second thing is to think about what monthly additional expenses you will have by having a baby. So whether that's the nappies, the clothes it needs, the food, their wants and needs over time, any baby classes you want to go to. So agree in advance how much of your spending money within your spending planner you want to put towards these costs and stick to it. So if that is £50, then it's £50. If it's £100, £200 a month, whatever it is you're comfortable, but make a plan between you and stick to it. So when that baby comes along, you're not just automatically signing up for every single baby class and going along to every group that all your friends are going along to, because you've made a plan and you're going to stick to it. The third thing I want to talk about is managing the change in your income. So something has got to change within your income, because you will have to have at least a short amount of time off with your baby after you've had your baby. And most people like to have 9 to 12 months off. So the first thing for you to do is find out what the maternity leave program from your employer offers. And if you can find this out even before you try to have a baby, then that can really help, because you can start off saving up and preparing for this period of time where either one of you may well have less income. So you might be surprised to find out when you speak to your employer that they might only offer a small amount, like 6 weeks full pay and 6 weeks half pay. That's quite typical. You may well find that it's more than that, but until you know, you're not going to be able to explore the different options. But once you've found out how much they're prepared to give you full pay and half pay, then after that, it's going to be the statutory maternity pay that's available to you up until week 39 of your maternity leave. Now that figure is calculated weekly and it's given to you monthly. So you may or may not be eligible for it. So the first thing I would do when you're looking at that is going onto the government website and finding out if you're eligible for it, and really working out within your figures on a month by month basis what that looks like. So month 1 after the baby arrives, month 2, month 3, and so on and so forth, so that you can really see what your monthly income is going to be, whether that be from your employer or from the government. And once you've had these calculations, it may be wise to decide who within your partnership is best to take the maternity leave. Now, this is a bit of a controversial one, but in 2015, the rules changed that partners can take the maternity leave, not just the mothers that have physically had the child. So it's completely possible for the mother to take the first 8 weeks off after having the baby, which hopefully they'd be paid through their employer's maternity package. And then after that, the partner goes on maternity leave for the remaining 31 weeks of statutory maternity pay. And then on top of that, they are actually entitled to take maternity leave for up to a year. So you're not both entitled to take maternity leave, but one of you is entitled to take maternity leave for up to a year. So this is a conversation that rarely happens, because so often it automatically just gets left to the mother. But the question to ask is, who earns the most money in your partnership? Who has the most earning potential in the next 12 months? And how do we want to set this up for our family's financial future? So for the greater good, who's going to take that reduction? Who's going to take that career break to be able to grow your family in the way you want to grow it? So the fourth area to think about, I believe, in advance of having that child, or certainly in those early months, is the cost of childcare for when you return to work, because it certainly can be daunting. And particularly with these costs being associated with all your childcare options. So obviously the options are to send your child to a nursery, or maybe a childminder, or even a nanny, or maybe you'll have a hybrid of different things. But having the awareness in advance of what these costs really are. So for a full-time childcare option, you're looking between £1,000 and £1,500 a month. So either preparing yourself to save up for that in advance for when you do reduce your hours at work, or you end up going back to work, or discussing in advance what that looks like, and taking the knowledge that I shared you in episode 4 to talk to your partner about money, so that you can ensure that the finances stay equal and that you stay independent, even if one of you has to reduce your hours in order to reduce the childcare costs. Now, of course, this is going to change over the years and your children are going to grow up and they're going to go to school. But then at that stage, there's going to be different amounts of different needs and wants and expenses that they might have. So it is going to change over time. But I think if you can prepare yourself financially as much as possible for those first 4 years before they go to school, then it's just going to put you in a really strong position to ensure that you don't end up resenting taking time out to build a family, taking time out of your career and then ending up getting in debt. So as much as you can do to prepare for that, the better. And all of these things are a really good starting point. So just to recap, talk about these costs in advance of the child arriving. Make a plan between you to save up in advance for some of these costs and what this looks like for your family. And lastly, consider all of the options that are available to you. Don't just do what society thinks you should do. Think about what's best for you and what's going to make most financial sense, and ultimately what's going to be the best for your family's well-being and your family's happiness. I hope that helps and you've enjoyed hearing my perspective, and I look forward to seeing you in another episode. Have a great day. Thank you so much for listening to Money Savvy Parents. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please subscribe and post your money questions within a review for future episodes. If you want to learn more, then please join my Money Savvy Parents Facebook group or club on Clubhouse. Let's remove the taboo from money together.